What's up, YouTube? Welcome to first edition of our progressive season 2 tier list. If you guys haven't been here before, we track the progress and the power of every single spec and class into the game, including healers, tanks, and DPS. How they perform from week to week based on the class changes. Every Sunday we update it live on stream, and after that you guys get to see the highlights. Okay, nothing I say today is gonna be final. Things are gonna change, and remember, everything I say today is my opinion. So if you guys don't agree with it, let me know down in the comments below how you or why don't you agree with me, so I can explain it to you further. Thank you for watching. Sub Rogue. I think what they've tried to do with Sub Rogue this patch around is they've tried to take some power away from your burst and get you a little bit more sustained damage. The problem is Sub Rogue burst is the only distinguishing factor they had, while the rest of the specs, for example, had other stuff. Like, they tried to take away what made unique high burst on-demand damage into giving you more sustain, but eventually what happens is your burst becomes now mediocre while your sustain damage is just bad. So overall, you get double L. That's it. You're just getting double L as Sub Rogue. AoE is terrible, ST is terrible, sustain is terrible. At least you get a better raid buff. If you guys didn't know, every single rogue spec, including Sub Asa and Outlaw Rogue, are getting a brand new, not brand new, but like improved raid buff, which is called Atrophic Poison. It's now the duration is 60 seconds, and it does give you a, I think 4% damage reduction, and if you do play the talent to make it stronger, it becomes 4.8% damage reduction, right? Which obviously not so bad. Unfortunately, Windwalker Monks right now are also quite undertuned. Yes, it's fun to play. Yes, at some point you do get to experience the joy of spin to win, because if you guys haven't seen it, the new tier set pretty much induces more spin into your rotation. The overall performance of Monk is just poor. That's it. That's the nicest way to say it. At least the burst damage of Windwalker Monk is not doing terrible. That is something that if you actually play it right, the burst is good. Sustain is terrible though. Outside of Zenith, you do pretty much Zidane. That's it. Now there's several ways to make Windwalker better, and I'll give you my opinion about it. They've made an attempt to buff the passive mitigation. They did buff it, and it becomes better. It still needs more. I feel like double charge perhaps of your Fortifying Brew might help, or adding, for example, dampen harm back could help technically, right? I feel like right now Monk is just paper, still paper, unfortunately, to say the least. So the capstones of Windwalker Monk are pretty bad. Most of them are just terrible. So that's one way to make Monk better, is to buff their capstones. Second thing is buff their spin creating kick better, right? So make it, for example, do extra, I don't know, like 20% more damage. I did try to play around my spin after I pressed my Fist of Fury and play around my tier set. That spin accounted for roughly between 12 to 15% of my overall damage, depending on the dungeon. I feel like if they buff it by like 20% or 30%, it will induce more gameplay focused around it. But for now speaking, I think Monk is just not it. It's actually Devastation Evoker. You guys are right. I think Death Evoker is just terrible. So pretty much no big changes done for Death Evoker for the most part. I feel like you just need more burst, more sustain. The burst already from your measured cooldowns, the Dragon Rage, is not bad at all. Like I just said, as a Flame Shaper, at least in Mass AoE, I wasn't doing bad at all. The problem is, as soon as I run out of cooldowns and 20 seconds outside of my cooldowns, I just do no damage. On single targets, no cooldowns, I am just doing tank damage, you know? So one way to fix that issue is just give you either nerf your cooldowns and give you more sustain, or just flat out give you more sustain. That's the only way to change your Evoker. It already has a nice explosive playstyle. You can also play Firestorm. I tested Flame Shaper the most. I did try Scale Commander. How can I say about this? So I would rather take a uppercut from Prime Mike Tyson, talking about like, you know, 90, 85, 90, 90, Mike Tyson. I'll get a uppercut from him, then play Scale Commander Def. It is likely one of the most unenjoyable specs to play in this game. Scale Commander Devastation Evoker. Absolutely terrible. It's terrible. Like, they just have to do something about that. The playstyle with flying all the time, left and right, is just terrible. I hate it, and I hope that to get changed. At least Flame Shaper is better. For now. Still, compared to others, pretty bad. Hunter is just terrible. Terrible. Please, please, for the love of God, buff aim shot to be a faster cast. I am falling asleep playing this spec. I know it got mini rework. Explosive shot got reintroduced. It now pulsates on targets. Great stuff. For the most part, I like it. They buff multi-shot. Multi-shot damage now is very competitive. Sure. But the whole sequence of multi-shot, waiting 5.5 seconds to cast aim shot, and then again multi-shot into rapid fire, it's slow. It's tedious. And the moment you cancel your aim shot because you gotta dodge something on the ground, you are ending up doing no damage. So my proposition is make aim shot 1.75 seconds a cast time, right? And the rotation itself is gonna be a lot more smooth down. I've played Dark Ranger. I felt Dark Ranger to be a little bit more fun, just a little bit. Better on ST though. The damage of MM is not as terrible. Like, the sustain looks to be okay, burst looks to be okay as well. But the playstyle is just bad. Just bad. So yeah. That's what I have to say so far for MM. So not much have changed for Holy Priest coming from S1 to Season 2. I think Holy Priest right now, the biggest issue that I'm having is I do believe wholeheartedly that the HPS of Holy Priest is not terrible. The problem is your mana expenditure is so bad that every second or third pack you have to drink mana. On a heavy HPS encounters, for example, you run And that is very evident once you start to play like hierarchies on PTR. On like 15s on PTR, it doesn't matter what you play. For the most part, if you're good at the game, you can heal it. But running, for example, 18 King's Rest with Holy Priest, you just feel it. You know, you go to last boss, they can't even heal the first phase. It's just not it, you know. They do struggle there. I would say a lot more love in regards to making their healing spells cost less mana, or just changing the playstyle to benefit them more. I don't know, something to be done. Yeah, I think Holy Priest has been meta once. I remember back in Shadowlands. Do you guys remember the Plaguefall dungeon? I think Holy Priest was good there, but that was like a long time ago. So maybe it's time to see Holy Priest again. Maybe. I don't know. But I think a Restoration Druid is not doing that well. I think a Restoration Druid for the most part is just doing... like the healing profile of Restoration Druid got changed. And the healing output of a Restoration Druid is not doing well in Mythic Plus. For the most part, I feel like they do struggle in that department. Just the HOTS are not doing enough. Quality of life changes of a Restoration Druid have become worse than last season as well. But you have to remember something. This spec has Mark of the Wild. So if a Restoration Druid gets to be buffed properly, like much better HPS, we've seen historically times and times again when the Restoration Druid does good healing, they always end up being good. How many times in the past have we had Restoration Druid being meta? Many. Many times. So with the correct tuning, I think Restoration Druid has a chance to climb a lot higher. But for now, in the third week of PTR, compared to other healers, I don't think you're doing that well. I think Outlaw Rogue is a spec that I've seen already several times on the PTR. Unfortunately, it's a spec that, unless you're one-tricking it, and you're like very good at it, you're gonna end up being with a poor performance. Overall, it plays really good. They fixed a lot of energy pulling. They fixed a lot of energy issues that they had in the past. They took away some of your bursts. They nerfed Kingsbane, they nerfed Death's Mark, and they gave you better sustained damage. So once you get to the high level keys, like Astro Rogue becomes really good, actually. But if I have to put the average person playing this spec with a current tuning compared to most of the specs, I think B tier is likely going to be, you know, where they're going to end up being, which is quite unfortunate. It just takes way too long for you to do damage. Like, by the time you start to ramp up, you know, most of the things are already adios. Once again, if you are one trick Astro Rogue and that's what you play your whole life, and I'm sure they're gonna make work out of it, you know. The problem is, even if you're good at playing Astro Rogue, you might not be given a chance to express how good you are. Because most of the time, people will just, you know, you won't even get invited. Unless you're like turbo broken. And yeah, that doesn't happen often. I genuinely enjoy playing Outlaw Rogue. I think it's very fun spec to play, but in the current tuning, especially if you don't play in a physical team, if you don't play with Iron's Warrior, if you don't have Monk's buff, if you don't have Druid buff, I feel like Outlaw Rogue compared to most of the specs are gonna struggle in damage. Right now, playstyle is good. I think for the most part has become better, more fluid coming to Season 1, Season 2. The tier set itself, like, it helps you with energy issues where before you had, now they become less often because, again, you're gonna get free global and free expenditure, you know, free dispatch, whatever you want to call it. But I just feel like it needs a little bit more kick. An hour buff could work well here. I think one of the specs here that can benefit from hour buff, like a cheeky 12%, could work really well for them. Or 10% or 8%, I don't know, I'll take anything. But I think so far, looking at Outlaw compared to most of the DPSers, is just doing below average. Once again, this doesn't factor in the group comps. If you are playing Outlaw, let's say with Iron's Warrior, if you do get, for example, Wind Fury Shaman, once again, think about this. Look at that. Look at that. I will draw it for you. Watch this. Sorry. I'll draw it for you. Watch this. So, this is Outlaw Rogue. Okay? Watch this. This is Outlaw Rogue. 5% from Warrior buff. Warrior. You get 5% physical touch from Monk. You get Sky Fury as well. And even if you do 15% less than other DPSers, you're gonna climb higher. Because they buff you. See what I mean? So any spec that is fully physical, like, for example, BM Hunter, like Survival Hunter, like Outlaw Rogue, for example, you know, Fury Warrior, Iron's Warrior, this kind of melees, even though they are in a B tier or C tier, having those buffs on top of this will grant you a much better placement. You know, I think Mark of the Wild is generally good buff for every single DPSer. Doesn't matter if you play melee range or hybrid, you know. But I'm just comparing right now Outlaw Rogue to like majority of the specs right now, without having to keep in mind the Iron's Warrior buff, the Shaman buff, you know, the Mystic Touch from Monk, etc. Yes, so this is just pretty much without those buffs. If I have to put those buffs in you, then you're gonna go higher for sure. I'm not trying to include the meta comp in it. Devastation Warlock. Okay, so I'm gonna get the elephant out of the room before people get mad about it. I think Destruction Warlock, especially Hellcaller Destrolock, I did play Diabolist as well. The mass AoE of it is great. I'm talking about like mass AoE of Destrolock, great. 7+ mobs, 8+, 10, 12 mobs with Rain of Fire, you clap cheeks. No question asked. Yo, measure cooldowns, minute and a half, Cataclysm, boom, 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 Rain of Fire, Conflagrate, boom, 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 sure. The problem comes here from several things. Small mob count, 3 to 5 mobs, 3 to 6 mobs, you damage, dog shit. Terrible. Terrible. Prior target damage, non-existent. 0. Unless you count Conflagrate and 3 procs from the 20% execute spell that I forgot about. Non-existent. On up to 5 targets, if you get Mayhem proc, then sure, you can send, Bolt in. But for the most part, it's just bad. Pure single target, Chaos Bolting as well. I mean, pure ST on this spec is just not great as well. You know, it's like average. It wasn't bad. It wasn't great. What could I do to help this spec is likely buff Chaos Bolt. Buffing Chaos Bolt or Shadow Burn can help a lot. The tier set itself is a bit sus. I don't like the set of Deathlock. I think it could have been better. Especially the 2-piece. If it had more spells, would be good. Overall, a little bit disappointing so far. Also, Destro is one of the few specs that didn't get massive changes. If I gotta be honest, almost nothing is new in Destro. So, they just need more love, per se. Beastmaster Hunter is also becoming an average performer. So what did I do? If you guys haven't paid attention, on PTR, the most common build was the Cobra Shot build. I know it sounds weird, but highest damage so far came from your Cobra Shot. The tiers that help you a lot, and you play talents that made your Cobra Shot do them a lot of damage. Unfortunately, that got nerfed significantly, to the point where your Q command sucks, it does no damage. They nerf Barb Shots, they nerf Cobra Shot, your Dire Beast does nothing. And every single build becomes obsolete. It's just overall bad tuning. And what makes me anxious is at the end of the season, of this PTR season, they're gonna see that BM Hunter still does decent ST. They're gonna slap you 3% out of buff and they call it a day. And this will make BM Hunter very bad the entire season. They need to address several things. Either buff Dire Beast, either make your pages do more damage, or you wanna buff Q commands so you can play Q command build. That's it. That's what I have to say about BM Hunter. Not great, but at least your ST is not terrible. And yes, every 30 seconds you have burst because Bishu Rat. Absolutely. So, Feral Druid has also several issues that I like to talk about. Mass AoE of Feral Druid, both sustain and burst, is actually doing pretty well. I kid you not, for the most part, I was doing the damage that most of the specs in A+ tier can do, in terms of like mass AoE. The problem is, anytime that you have to fight 3 to 5 mobs, or even 6, you just fall behind so bad. And the only issue why you do this is because you don't even cast Rake, right? You don't even talent into Rake. You can play double claw Rake and you can rake up to 5 targets, but that spell is so undertuned that often players don't even, want to cast it. The single target of Feral wasn't actually bad at all. So what I propose for Ferals to get changed is either give them more Rake damage, give it like a, I don't know, 25% more damage on Rake, or 30 or 35, I don't know, and call it a day, or just flat buffs. I mean, there are some talent points on the Feral 3 that annoys me, and I don't like that swipe is like 12.5 to 13% of your overall damage, because that's a builder. But at the end of the day, I'll take that, over nothing. So I love to see Feral get some changes that need some love, please. Thank you. That's gonna be Fury Warrior. Right now, in my opinion, that is the biggest struggle for them so far. They tried to buff it unsuccessfully. You play a Rampage Ruin, it's still bad. Anytime you pull large, Fury falls behind. That's it. As simple as that. And some keys where there are no big pulls, for example, King's Rest, go ahead and play it. But any other point, any other dungeon that you play massively, you just intentionally making yourself worse instead of playing Arms Warrior. Like, why would you play Fury over Arms in Mythic Plus when you know Arms AoE is like one of the best in the game? Sure, it does probably more ST, but whenever you factor the funnel damage and the private damage inside that package, then I feel like Arms just becomes stronger. in most of the bosses next tier, you are able to funnel. Okay, you are able to funnel as arms, both Colossus and Slayer. Although Colossus have better funnel, I believe. Okay, that's about Fury Chat. I know what you're gonna say about Red Paladin, and believe me, majority of the Red Paladins that do play PTR play with a broken trinket called Marekta's Fang. That shit accounts for roughly 15 to 20% of the overall damage, and once they remove this, their damage becomes an average. That's it, an average performer that a Retribution Paladin is. But my theory here tells me the following words. Retribution is by far the most popular spec in the game. I don't believe they are going to leave them the way they are. They want you to play them because you are paying subscription, and I sincerely believe, even though you're an average spec, watch it how by the end of the season, by the end of the PTR testing, this spec will rise in rankings. Just watch it. How slowly they're gonna shift from mid performer to the above average to one of the best middies. I'm calling it right now. So far, the AoE output feels average, both burst and sustain. The ST felt okay as well. Yeah, I think everything in Red Paladin so far is screaming average for me. However, this is a very good point from the Utera. That's exactly what I wanted to say. If Protection Paladin ends up being the best tank at the end of the PTR cycle, that is a very bad news for Holy Paladins and for Red Paladins. You just have to hope. You just need to hope that actually they don't become the best. Because if they do, not good for you. Survival Hunter is the best Hunter spec right now onto the PTR, and although the burst damage do well, the sustain is just not there. ST looks to be pretty good. Unfortunately, there's a few issues I don't like about survival. First of all, majority of your damage comes from Raptor Strike, Raptor Swipe. I understand tier sets, buff set, whatever, yada yada yada. They just need to shift away some of their damage towards Wildfire Bombs or Boomstick. I think Boomstick already does a shit ton of damage. So now, they just need to shift away a little bit more damage toward the bombs to do more sustain. Make them do more damage, because a Raptor Strike does so much damage that they sometimes cap on bombs just to spend more Raptor Strikes and Raptor Swipes in AoE. Unfortunately, for a lot of people, that is frustrating, including me. Another thing I can say about Survival Hunter right now is there's only one build you play. You don't swap around, you only play one build. The Flame Fang patch build is something that we were hoping ever since Midnight came out to be playable, but unfortunately, it isn't. It's just pretty bad. That's it. That is so far on behalf of Hunters. Oh, one more thing I didn't mention is that Hunter's Mark got buffed. Okay, so for the people that do not know, you can apply Hunter's Mark up to 5 targets. The bad part is you have to manually apply 5 globals if you want to have 5 Hunter's Mark before you start combat, which, let's be honest, nobody does. Okay, so they are likely going to introduce a talent, maybe in the future, where as soon as you apply Hunter's Mark, you might be applying it to like nearby 4 enemies to become 5 in total. Or they're gonna bake Hunter's Mark and most of your abilities, let's say Wildfire Bomb or Boomstick or whatever, right? That kind of makes sense. I don't know. One of those two could help you, but overall, I think it's pretty bad to spend 5 globals before combat and, you know, continue with the rotation. That's pretty bad. Let's hope for the best so far. I think Guardian Druid, I think Blood Decay are likely considered the tanks that are currently the worst performers. Worse, not by a point of view where they can't compete in any other key, it's just more difficult for them to, you know, wrap around and, you know, time those keys in. Specifically for Guardian Druid, I think the biggest complaint so far from that spec is just the damage output. I feel like the durability of Guardian Druid, at least when I played with them, was pretty fine for the most part. Had to kite sometimes here and there, but for the most part, it felt quite durable. The damage department, however, from Guardian wasn't that hot. I'm not sure whether Ellunes is the better build than Druid to the Claw. I feel like most people play Ellunes right now, at least from the logs I've seen. But in comparing every single log, which I did from all the tanks, Guardian so far netted the worst in terms of output. I feel like once they buff the damage more, then I can place them higher. Blood Decay, on the other hand, how can I explain Blood Decay to people? Blood Decay feels nice to play until it doesn't, right? You're tanky with your defensive cooldowns until you just die. You know? Which is exactly what's happening right now with Blood Decay. Very good tank for like mid-performing keys, and it just feels like it comes to a point where your passive mitigation is just not enough, and you don't have any other cooldown to press it, and you just get one shot, like from 100 to 1. So on the highest of the highest keys, you are still gonna get the moose meat. In other words, your booty will get clapped. Okay, that's about it. Another tank I like to discuss here is gonna be likely Brewmaster Monk. I think Brewmaster Monk is also, I would say, mid-performer right now. Brewmaster Monk, the most important thing that they just need is to get better at defensive value. That's it. I think damage already looks pretty decent. The utility package looks good only if you play in a physical comp because of Mystic Touch, although the utility is not as good as others. And I think durability-wise is the biggest flaw so far, at least compared to most of the tanks. But once again, every single season, physical comps are being played, and if you don't play with Mistweaver, you are probably playing Brewmaster. So even though you might be considered mid-performer compared to most of the tanks, again, once you play with a physical comp, just like Rogues, for example, this goes higher, okay? It is just the nature of it. But we don't care about comps for now. We're just talking about, you know, looking at a bigger picture right now. And one more thing I want to talk about is the healing classes. I think Holy Paladin is also considered mid-perform right now. So my issue with Holy Paladin is every single time that I play with Holy Paladin, and there's like a raw damage coming out, the AoE healing of Holy Paladin compared to like top healers is just off. Good ST healing, good prior healing, good Mythic Plus package, nice utility, has a CR as well, good mob control, but the AoE output is just bad, you know? I don't know, there's no other way to say it. So what you could do here is cycle around your healing abilities and introduce a better buff to Holy Shock. If you guys haven't been aware, there's currently a build going around on Holy Paladin that you don't play Holy Shocks, or at least you don't prior them. You don't really focus them as much compared to, you know, before. If you guys have played Holy Paladin before, it's pretty much Holy Shocks all the time. Now there is a build that it doesn't cast Holy Shocks, and apparently it does pretty good. So rebalancing of healing power towards Holy Shocks here, Havoc unfortunately got nerfed. If you guys haven't seen, they received a -5% auto nerf. So how does Havoc place and perform so far into the PTR? I honestly believe Havoc is doing really well. I think their sustained damage is really good. I think their burst damage is good, and overall package of Havoc is great. It fits well with physical meta because you can benefit from Battle Shout. It fits well with hybrids, ranges melee, and you can play also Havoc in a full range because again, you do benefit from, I mean, you do give them Chaos Brand. So overall, Havoc is doing very well. The unfortunate nerf to Havoc is something I don't know why they did it. Okay, but I will leave it for now on A tier, and we're gonna look how this pick plays out at the end of the PTR. So far, I would say definitely above average. Fire Mage went from pretty bad to quite good, because the buffs itself are good enough for you to become above average performer, but not good enough to become an exceptional DPS. So far, the biggest issue of Fire Mage, actually there's two issues. The first one is the playstyle. Most of Fire Mages don't like to play the way it is, especially the Pyroclasm and your damage outside of major cooldowns. It's not enjoyable. Second thing is, as I already mentioned here, is the damage outside of your combustion is quite bad. So there's several ways to make fire more fun for people. If you guys haven't paid attention, fire has been meta several times into the past from the Ignite build. Ignite, Pyroblast, pure ST pump into spreading it to multiple targets, and they just pretty much dying. That build historically is really good. So perhaps give them an option whether they can go that build or they can play Flame Strike. I don't like Flame Strike build because for the most part it's just Flame Strike, Pyroblast, Flame Strike, and that's it. There's not really much prio in it. But the Pyroblast build, which often, well, not often, but most of the time, you know, gives you much more prio damage, I feel like it's gonna be good for most people. You guys are right, Demonology hasn't seen anything. Nothing. There is nothing happening for Demonology. The only new thing on Demonology is the tier set, which is completely passive. It doesn't change your rotation. It's passively giving you damage, which is boring. Demonology has a nice flat damage profile. You do damage all the time with slightly bigger spikes around your tyrants every minute. Other than that, it plays the same as last season. It does the same thing as last season, has the same pros and cons as last season, and overall is a solid contender for the range specs. But solid doesn't mean shit, especially as Warlock, where you don't have a party buff that gives you damage to the entire party. If you're not broken, you are not gonna be picked up for, you know, top keys, and that's the way it is. Now we can sit here and argue all day long, but while you argue with me, I'm just gonna show you the Sky Fury from Shaman. I'm gonna show Chaos Brand from DH, Mark of the Wild from Paladin's Druid, and that buff itself is more valuable than the entire kit that you have as Warlock. It is the honest truth. You might dislike it, you might like it, it's the truth. And until that's changed, you're never gonna be meta. Unless you're broken. If you're broken, then sure. You know, if you do the highest damage, then sure. Other than that, is Augmentation Evoker. Okay, so Augmentation Evoker got a rather substantial nerfs, both in fun and in output, 3 days ago. They pretty much nerf scale commander CDR, and now you cannot have more than, I mean, you can't stack duplicates as before. Before, sometimes you can have 3, sometimes even 4 duplicates, which again made Augmentation Evoker quite fun. Spreading bombardments, getting CDR, yada yada yada. That loop is gone. That's it. That will result in a significant damage loss. I don't think we have the numbers yet, how much that's going to be. But it takes also the fun factor from Augmentation Evoker. Now, is that nerf going to be enough to put it down? I think for now speaking, Augmentation Evoker, after every test that I've done, didn't perform good. I wanna say I'm unsure yet of where they land until I get more testing, but every single test that I've done so far on Augmentation Evoker, and including some of the very good players from China that I played, it was terrible. It always did roughly between 15 to 20% less damage than all of the specs that I've played. But again, that's not a big sample enough. I will try to get more and comment more. The good thing is nerfing Augmentation Evoker opens the door for other specs that have Bloodlust, like mages, like shamans, like hunters. And that's about it. I haven't seen a singular Frost Mage on PTR. Not one. Not one. I tried to play Mage myself, Frost, and it didn't go well. I was doing like an average performance, kinda. which makes me believe I just need more time. I need more time to evaluate whether Frost Mage is good or bad, but so far I can say several things about Frost Mage. Not many things have changed for Frost Mage. They nerfed your burst damage. Oh, again, they nerfed the Apex Talons, which nerfs your burst damage, and they gave you a overall 4% more damage, which again is going to increase your sustained damage, nerf the burst. The playstyle of Frost remains quite similar. So not many things have changed with Frost. I just need more time to evaluate the spec better. Come back next week. I'll have more info for you. Under the path, there is so far 3 locks on Frost Mage on PTR, and all of those are outdated or low level keys. So that's why. Unsure yet until further testing. Unholy DK received a massive nerf this week round, and with that, obviously, your performance goes down. SD, Prio, Sustain, Burst, everything goes down. Now, is that fair for Unholy DK? I would say yes. They were way too good on PTR. But here's the problem. Because they nerfed your baseline spells, I think Unholy, contrary to what people say, is gonna get another nerf. And the reason why they'll get another nerf is because their tier set is doing most of the time the most damage out of the entire toolkit. Which means Blizzard will never leave a spec do with their tier set the highest damage. So what they're gonna do is likely to nerf that tier set to half, or even more than half, and give you more baseline buffs to the specs, which I think they should have done it at the beginning instead of nerfing it now. You know? But keep my word, in 3 weeks from now, we're gonna come back to this video and it's gonna be like, damn, Petko, you were right, bro. You were right, I was wrong. And I am so confident in that. Other than this, Unholy plays very similar to last season, with the only difference here in rotation going to be your Soul Reap. Soul Reap doesn't consume Putrefy stacks anymore. So you have to press one extra button during your rotation at the beginning. That's it. That's about Unholy. I think Affliction is one of the best DPSers into the A tier. Very solid DPS output, both AoE, sustain, better power damage because of your force set now. The only issue of Affliction right now is a pure single target. When you fight only one mob, your ST is bad. The moment you add funnel, it's better. The moment you add, for example, more mobs on top, it's good. The sustained damage of Affliction Lock is likely the best thing that they have right now. Very, very good. Play style, you know, spamming Seed of Corruption on cooldown, back to back to back to back, can be tiresome. If you have arthritis on the fingers, not the best pick for you. Okay? That's the truth so far. On Affliction. What else? I would take single target buffs. I would love Unstable Affliction to get buffed by, I don't know, 20%, 30%, you know? That would be good. Yeah, that's it so far on Affliction. I think Devourer DH received a very substantial buffs this week. 10% out of buff, which I don't think it focuses on the importance of the issues of Devourer. Overall speaking, compared to last season, definitely weaker. Now, at the beginning of PTR cycle, they were playing Void Scarred, melee build, no collapsing star, full focusing on Reap. Now, this week, most of them are switching back to the old collapsing star build of Devourer. The bad part is, I think Devourer DH itself is lacking tuning. It does quite well single target when you play with a Void Scarred build, but in that case AoE lacks. Or you can play the old build, Collapsing Star, when the AoE is good but the ST is kinda iffy. So what I have to do here is find a middle ground where you can focus on both builds or introduce at least some healthy balance. I'm pretty sure that Collapsing Star is going to be a button that you want to press. So they're going to tune it the way you have to press it. And the reason why I think that Devourer is not enjoyable to play, well, obviously, the most important one here is Void Ray. So Void Ray, the way it works is if you don't fully channel Void Ray, you don't get Eradicate. And sometimes when you cast Void Ray and there's a puddle on the ground and you gotta cancel it to not die, you lose Eradicate. And sometimes that can mean a large damage loss. The same thing, for example, is Collapsing Star. When you cast Collapsing Star and you have to cancel it in the last second because you don't want to lose it, and you cancel it, it goes on cooldown, and this way sometimes you might lose your meta for it. So it's just overall frustrating to play. That's it. It's just frustrating to play. At least for me. That's my 2 cents on Devourer. The clear winners for the 8th tier are going to be Restoration Shamans and Press Evoker, and I'll speak about them separately. First of all, Restoration Shaman, I feel like the issues of Rest Shamans are actually 2. First issue is that your AoE healing output is just not as good. Compared to most healers, you don't do enough HPS output in AoE. The Paratari healing is fine, ST healing is fine. Most of your healing is baked inside Healing Rain right now, at least most of the time. So you gotta be kind of be in a Healing Rain in melee. So you need to be there, right? You need to be within the Healing Rain in melee to benefit the most out of Rest Shaman. I think on behalf of utility, Shamis are pretty good. I think the physical comps are gonna benefit once again this season from them. They are gonna get the Sky Furies. They are gonna get the Bloodlust. So even if you are tuned very bad, you're still gonna be played in a physical comps, and that's the way it is. Right now, I would say they are above average performer, but not as good compared to the meta classes right now, or at least the main contenders. In comparison, Press Evoker has very strong healing profile, especially if you line everything correctly with your healing spells and have a nice preamps. I think the HPS of Press Evoker is doing really good. That's if you can manage to play around it. The Dream Breath does insane healing overtime effect on you, and most of the raw damage as Press Evoker is just bread and butter. The damage also is doing very well. I think most of the time this is the highest damage output spec in the game right now, which is really good. The issue with Press Evoker is you don't have a unique buff. There's nothing unique about the buffs you offer to give your team damage. Like, for example, Paladin gives 30% DR to the whole party, Priest gives stamina plus PI, Shamans give Sky Fury to the team in Bloodlust, Mistweaver gives Mystic Touch. So that's kind of a drawback. Also, historically speaking, Augmentation has always sneaked up to be meta. So whenever Aug looks to be meta, then Press is a lot less likely to be played. The good thing is, this time around, Augmentation is looking shaky, which can open the door for you to be played a lot more into the live servers, which I am quite happy to see Press Evoker being played more. When it comes down to rate, I think this was doing really crazy numbers. At least from my rate testing, I think on my rate testing so far, Press Evokers did the highest, and I think Shamans were struggling the most. At least from my rate testing, but then again, this is Mythic Plus. Mythic Plus and rate testing is like, 2 different things. Nobody cares about lizards, go next. Okay, sure. I'm just here mentioning the lizards, and you guys do with that info whatever you like, okay? I think Vengeance DH right now is doing really well, likely top 3 tank onto the PTR. My issue with Vengeance DH here is, sure, utility is great, party cooldowns are great, sure, darkness, whatever, you can help your team, Mystic Touch, damage is doing good. The durability of Vengeance DH at times can be shaky, especially because you cannot maintain 100% defensive value from them. So whenever you have to run Kite for your life, that's where you're vulnerable when you die a lot. So, if you are an exceptional Vengeance DH player, and for example, you're playing with somebody that gives you external, let's say you have nothing to press, and you call the disc priest, be like, yo, give me a PS. That case, sure. So, in any other circumstance, I would say that is the main struggle so far for you. But if you are a very good player playing Vengeance, and you are, fully immersive with a healer that can save you, then sure, maybe not as bad, maybe even A+. But for most people, I would say A tier is solid. An A+, I've added a Protection Warrior. I think that after the buffs, likely the second best tank right now. The damage got better, durability got better, it has an attack power buff, which again allows you to play with physical combs and hybrid combs. Overall flow of Protection Warrior looks solid. I can't complain. I can't complain. I think Prot Warrior is doing really well. The only issue I'm having with Prot Warrior right now, and it's the primary argument why you are considered in A+ tier, is because of Protection Paladin. Okay? That is the only argument. Prot Pali is so absurdly broken on PTR that no other tank comes close. This is the most broken spec on the PTR right now. It does the damage of a regular DPS. It does the single target of a regular DPS, on top of having the best mob control for Mythic Plus, on top of having a very good party-wide utility like Sack, like Spell Ward, Lay on Hands, and Freedom, and Poison Dispel, Disease Dispel, off healing if you have to, immunity, quite tanky as well. Like, Prot Pali has it all, and if that wasn't enough for them, they just received, again, they just got the best DPS profile in the game. So right now, this is the best spec in the game. Yeah. No, Protection Paladin doesn't do damage with Fang. You don't play Malekith Fang as Prot Pali. You don't. And yeah, I also believe Prot Paladin is gonna get nerfed. I sincerely believe Prot Paladin will get nerfed. The question is when. When are they gonna get nerfed? Not if. If we already passed that. Question is, when are they getting a nerf? It will get nerfed. And it might get a nerf, let's say, I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised. 50%. If you remember last season on PTR, they nerfed Guardian by 50%, so not surprising a lot. There are two best healers so far on PTR, and that's Mistweaver and Discipline Priest. I can speak about them separately. I think Disc Priest so far has been getting a lot of love. They recently nerfed the amount of healing you do from Void Shields, transferred into the core healing spells, like for example Atonement. So far HP's profile of Disc Priest look to be pretty good. Damage department as well, very strong. They allowed both hero talents to be playable. Now previously you used to play Oracle all the time. Now you have options whether you want to play Oracle or Voidweaver. The buffs to both hero talents, or at least the changes done to Voidweaver, most definitely helped Disc as well. Now remember, Disc utility is also pretty good. Stamina buffs, Mind Suit, MD, Disease Dispel, PI, double PS as well. It is looking good. I think Disc Priest so far is one of the best healers on PTR. Only the final tuning is gonna reveal to us whether they'll become better than Mistweavers. Speaking about Mistweaver, Mistweaver is looking just as good as last season. They nerfed Way of Crane. So so pretty much what they're trying to do with Mistweaver is like, they don't want you to press spin to heal all the time, and rather spin to heal only after a certain threshold of mobs. So on like massive AoE pools, you still spin to win, but on lower pools, you change your rotation. You might spin for the damage only, right? But not for healing. At least not for the primary healing. Overall HP is looking to be one of the best. if not the best in Mythic Plus. Damage-wise, very competitive. One of the best in Mythic Plus so far. I don't like the utility of Mistweaver Monk. I've never liked it before. I feel like this has better things to offer than you. I like the utility of Holy Paladin better as well than yours. But then again, numbers speak. And HPS is likely the biggest argument so far for them. Enhanced Shaman is doing very well onto the PTR. I think Enhanced is doing better than last season. Rotation is fun. The output is good. You play Stormbringer. You do big dam. Very good burst cities. A little bit of RNG. You know, sometimes you might end up doing very good damage on a certain pools. And if you don't really proc, then yeah, the damage becomes a little bit of an obsolete. But other than that, Enhance has every single tool into the game to become one of the best specs so far. PL, good burst, decent sustain as well, very nice utility for the group. Overall big W for Enhance, honestly. This is a lot better than last season. Of what happened to the Frost Decay, they significantly nerfed Frost Decay, which made you go from being the most broken DPS into the game to now being very good at the game, just not broken. That's it. That's the ODR. Defense is still the very best. I mean, nobody comes close to durability of Death Knights. You know, Unholy and Frost are broken as fuck. Extreme high burst. Good sustained damage. Grips are gonna be super useful next season as well. And if, once again, if this spec receives any sort of buffs, 3, 4%, 5%, immediately STR. And call it a day. And if you do like top 3 damage, I'm not talking about being the most broken DPS. If you do top 3 damage, you're still gonna go to the meta specs. The only reason is because you are immortal. As a Death Knight, you press AMS, you swing your dick around like this, you don't die, you soak every mechanic possible in the game, you live, the healers don't heal you, you do good damage, you grip casters if you have to. That's it. As simple as it is. I think overall speaking here, Frost Decay is just, and both Unholy and Frost is just crazy good. Okay. So hope to see that to be changed. I don't want to see DK season. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to every single person that mains Death Knight in this chat. I like to apologize. You are... I don't want to see DK big meta. That's it. That's it. You can hate me. Way too many seasons in a row. I'm done with that shit. It's time for Shadow Priest. Anyway, speaking about Shadow Priest, I think Shadow Priest currently is actually one of the best ranges in the game. And I'll explain why. First of all, every single change done to Shadow Priest going from last season to season 2 is amazing. It's great. I love the approach to Shadow Priest. The most specifically, I consider this the most fun spec that I had a pleasure of testing on Mythic Plus. Only if you play Arcane. Only Arcane and only Misery Arcane with the broken talent that causes Void Volley after every single Devouring Plague or Shadow Word Madness, whatever. That build is super fun. Now playing the Invoked Nightmare build, it's miserable. It's miserable, it's dreadful, it's bad, it stinks, it's shit, I don't know, whatever you want to call it, caca, dog shit, whatever. It's bad. So I propose to like make it the way that you always play Misery in Mythic Plus and never play Invoked Nightmare. That'll be great. That'll be chef kiss. If I have to be forced to play Invoked Nightmare, fuck that shit. I'm out of there. I'm done. SP, fuck that. It's not going to be great. That's so far. Nice consistent damage, very strong burst on ST. One of the best final products so far into the game. Yeah, I love Shadow Priest. Nice playstyle. Everything so far screams to me, Shadow is goated. That's it. That's all it does. Shadow is goated. The chickens got buffed this week, and they're doing amazing. Their current AoE damage, especially mass AoE damage, is insane. Insane, by the way. The ST is looking to be pretty solid. The mass AoE is broken as fuck. Especially, again, mass AoE. Playstyle itself hasn't changed much. But remember, good damage, good burst, and a group-wide buff. Mark of the Wild, not you fucking Hailstones. I don't like the Hailstones. Get them out of there. Give me the Mark of the Wild. That gives my party 3% more damage. Give me that shit. That's the good shit, okay? It's a super valuable. Also, utility. Poison Dispel. A lot of poisons next season. Curse Dispels. There are some curses. It helps. You know? And Mark of the Wild. Mass AoE Silence. Porco. Nice. So far, balance are getting the most meat, for sure. I think, honestly speaking, Arcane, Ellie, and Arms are considered the top 3 specs right now into the game. And I'll speak about them individually. Arcane. Starting with Arcane. Now, the biggest complaint on Arcane this season has been durability. Last season we saw them. It was too hard for them to play the game. They were dying too much. Buff my defenses. Apparently, only bot players play mage. And they kept dying. So Blizzard cave in and be like, you know what guys, here you are. You're gonna once again become one of the tankiest spec into the game. Fuck it, whatever. And now they're pretty tanky. The motherfuckers now are pretty tanky. In fact, one of the tankiest specs in the game. So they return. On top of being tanky, great damage profile, super good AoE, very good single target, you know, and this goes on and on. And also group buff, okay? So far, Arcane is most definitely one of the best casters in the group. Ellie Shaman, chat. Okay, who thinks in the chat that I overplay Ellie? Type 1 in the chat if you think that I put Ellie only high because I mean it. And type 2 if you believe Ellie is actually good. I honestly believe, hey listen, I honestly believe, chat, do you sincerely believe that I put Ellie high there? Like, think about this. How retarded, okay sorry, how stupid do I have to be to put Ellie as a S tier spec? If I want to sandbag it, I will put it B tier, right? I'm being honest. Ellie is really good. On God, Ellie's really good. Like, it has insane sustained damage. Very good burst damage. One of the best utilities in the game. Okay? So, 3 reasons why I think Ellie is insane. So far. Now, last season, did I say Ellie was S tier? I did. I said it. And I never back down from what I say, by the way. Unlike many of you. Okay. Was Ellie good at the first couple weeks of the season? Even a month? Did we have Ellie to do World First Keys at the beginning of the season? Yes or no? Did we? We did. And Ellie was very strong. Now, unfortunately, you know, one thing leads to another. What do you mean we didn't? We did. We had Ellie in the top first keys within the first 2 weeks of the season. And then we had everybody swapping to DK after that. Why DK? Is because DK was doing the same damage, but was living, you know, and that's it. That's pretty much it. And then it fell over. Ellie has no prior damage. Are you talking about last season or this season? Ryoko 97. Last season or this season? I don't know. You tell me. This season? Like season 1 or 2? Just so I know whether I should ban you or not. Okay, I agree with you. Season 2? You're right. Season 2, Ellie has no prior. That's true. Because you play first year. But if you said season 1, I was about to ban you. For being a rage bearer in chat. Yeah, that's about Ellie so far. Do I overhype Ellie? Maybe. But I think Ellie is really solid. I might think that I'm, you know, overplaying my hand here, but we'll see. Anyway, Arms Warrior. Getting to Arms Warrior. I think Arms right now, pound to pound, bows to bows, likely one of the best DPSs right now. Short offensive cooldowns, super good AoE, likely the best. In physical comps, it's gonna be Monster. The SD is the biggest issue of Arms. But whenever you are playing in a physical comp and you get to be, you know, putting funnel into the packs, then Arms becomes better, you know, on bosses. Pure boss SD damage, a bit stinky. But if you put funnel on it, it's fine. Most of the time you can put funnel, so you're good. That's it. That's what I think so far is the first update on our progressive Mythic Plus tier list for Season 2 patch 12.1 after 3 weeks of testing.